Thanks for joining us. I'm so proud of all of you who drank last night, but we're still here this morning. Good job. Nice going. All right, to ask you to stay during the whole breakfast and not sneak out for a conference call, we're going to start off by introducing everyone and asking them to tell us 2 truths and a lie about themselves, and then at the end they'll give us the answer to what was actually the lie. So I'll take notes on that. So we are going to start with Ashley Sheetz, who is with Sally Beauty. She is the VP and Chief Marketing Officer, and we've done a panel together before. She lives in Dallas, and I know a lot about her, so I feel like I can win this contest. So, all right, Ashley, let's start it off.
2 truths and a lie. They just threw this at us, or I would have come up with something probably a little bit better. But, all right, I have driven the Batmobile. I have jumped out of an airplane, and I speak 3 languages.
I'm taking notes. One moment. All right, got it. Okay, next we have Doug Zarkin, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of Pearle Vision, and I learned lots of interesting things about his business yesterday. Doug, are you ready to reveal your 2 truths and a lie?
Yes. Okay, so I've saved someone's life, I've jumped out of a perfectly good airplane, and I have thrown a touchdown pass to Jerry Rice.
Touchdown, Jerry Rice. All right, fabulous. Okay, got it. Next we have, I'm in the wrong order here. There she is, Fanette Singer, who is the Senior Vice President of Marketing for Country Financial. Yesterday, in a moderation, just to spice things up, I tried to ask Fanette to have a cat fight with me, and she wouldn't. So that tells you a little bit about how sweet Fanette is. So Fanette, what are your 2 truths and a lie?
Well, these are all going to be much more mild than my colleagues. So I'm 58 years old. I am a ballerina, and I don't like wine.
Those are pretty spicy. Okay, one moment. Okay, next. All right, last but not least, we have Jordan Schlachter, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for the National Basketball Players Association. I ate breakfast with him. He was fabulous. He has a business card that looks like a black MasterCard that you could like charge things on. So if you can get one of those, I highly recommend it. Now we will take your 2 truths and a lie.
Well, the lie would be that you could charge something on it.
It looks like you could.
I'm going to keep mine sports related. Excuse me. I am married to a professional basketball player who is 6'4", my wife. Another one is that I used to be a professional gymnast. And the third one is I skipped the dinner last night to go to the Miami Heat game.
You skipped dinner to do what?
To go to, if it's true.
If it's true. You skipped dinner
I skipped dinner last night to go to the Miami Heat game.
Oh, nice.
Which went overtime and was a great basketball game. So they say.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Okay,
Allegedly.
okay. This is really tough. So stick around to then, and we will let you guys know what the actual lie is in each one of those. So we are going to get started here. This is a panel about the hyper-connected revolution, and we're going to start off by asking each of these guys to tell us about their role in the organization. And since this is about storytelling, we want them to tell us their favorite story about their company. Who would like to start it off?
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
So my name is Ashley Sheetz, CMO of Sally Beauty. I've been there a little less than 2 years now. And really why the reason why I came to the organization is it was an opportunity to build a marketing function truly from scratch. Marketing at Sally Beauty before I got there was a sign shop. It was merchandising and operations, putting a phone call into a couple of guys that sat there and put some SKUs on a piece of paper and some price points and shipped out a flyer to the stores, and that was marketing. So it's been really fun to have the opportunity to build a true marketing organization from scratch. My responsibilities now include CRM, loyalty, customer insights, analytics, e-commerce, omni-channel, and now kind of store environment. So just a few things on my plate, but it's been a lot of fun.
Your business card must be like this. Doug Zarkin, the head of marketing for Pearle Vision. Similar type of wingspan, the opportunity to work on pretty much all of the consumer-facing elements of our brand, from our iconography and our consumer messaging to CRM, visual merchandising, store design, product promotion. Anybody here work on a franchise business before in their career? Raise their hand. So I'll tell you a really quick story. I joined the company about 4 years ago, and if you've ever worked in franchising, you know that marketing is one of those tension points where everybody who went to college that took a marketing course now thinks they're marketing experts, right? You know, we've all been there. And so my first day, I get an email from one of our franchisees. I'm actually a pretty distinguished franchisee, and I open my email box and there's an email from this guy, and I'm so excited. And the email reads, "Dear Doug, welcome to Pearle Vision. Hope you suck less at your job than the last person who had it." And I actually still have this email because, to me, first of all, it was either fear or laughter. My reaction was laughter. But what it really set a tone for was the fact that I was in a unique position that I could bring really different thinking because there was no way to go but up. And every once in a while, when things are really good or things are really bad, I pull that email out and get a good giggle. I'm actually having dinner with the guy who sent me that email tonight in Tampa on my way home. So it'll be very interesting to see if you remember sending it to me. I'll be sure to let him know that he did.
Fanette?
I joined Country Financial about 3 years ago, and it was a very unlikely place for me to go. I'm a Chicago and New York girl, city all the way. Country Financial is in Bloomington, Illinois. I'm responsible for all facets of marketing, including digital development. So we have front-end development as well as user experience that reports into marketing, which is great. But the company is a rural heritage company. We're actually owned by the Illinois Farm Bureau, which makes the company very traditional in its background and how it carries itself to this day. And while I have the full swath of marketing responsibilities, I also report to a board of directors that are farmers. And so it's a very unusual company.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I work for a union, and I don't sell anything. My average union member, their average salary is $8 million a year. So it's not your traditional auto workers, steel workers union. I'm also, when you talk about storytelling, I'm lucky, sometimes it's a little difficult, is that there are stories written about my business every single day, multiple times a day, and you never know how the story is going to end. Last night, like I said, allegedly, if there was a basketball game, there was a great overtime game that went on, but there's literally 30 stories a night written every night, and that's not counting the stories that my union members write about themselves and put on social media and stuff like that. So I'm very lucky in that point. I'm the first CMO ever at the Players Association, and when I first got the job, everybody asked, why do they need a marketing officer? What do you have to market? And the truth is, right now, we don't have anything because we've given our rights to any marketing opportunities we have collectively as a union to the NBA. We're the only union that does that. All the other unions do it themselves. And we're in the process of taking those rights back, which just provides boatloads of opportunities for us and for me specifically over the next year and a half to really capitalize on, the fact that my guys are some of, if not the greatest influencers in the sports world, and that they're literally written about, good and bad, every single day, multiple times a day.
Thank you. So as we go through everyone's role, we talk about CRM or we talk about the different things that you're doing. In this day and age, for your organization and the way you see your role, how do you define marketing? What is included and what is not? Where do you draw the line?
I think it's interesting coming into an organization that marketing didn't truly have a seat at the table and having to define that role myself, but having to also negotiate and navigate that role with my peers. So it's been an interesting ride, and it would be really interesting to have my peers sitting up here and see what they would say. It would probably be very different than what I would say. But the thing that I saw when I came into Sally Beauty, which is a 50-year-old brand, I work on the retail side of the business. We've got 3,000 doors in North America, and yet it's a very old school kind of environment. They didn't have, in my opinion, real strong business strategy. So I actually started with, what is our business strategy and really started at kind of the consumer insights level of just understanding who is our customer, what kind of share of wallet do we have, what are our motivators and barriers to shopping, what are our biggest problems, what are our biggest assets, and then how do we take those to market. So whether or not my job title is business strategy, that's really what I stepped in and started to fill a big void there. So I think strategy is big, and I think that's also why you're seeing, for the first time, not for the first time, but historically, the COOs of the world have become the CEOs of the world, and I think you're starting to see that change a little bit with this just hyper focus on consumers and being consumer-centric. The CMOs now are starting to step into those CEO roles because it's that understanding of the customer experience. And I think that's what the difference between a really, really successful, brilliant company that has a long future ahead of it and one that just kind of is getting by is the emotional connection to the customer and really understanding the customer's needs and delivering them and delighting them at every turn. So I think marketing is certainly changing. I think the role of marketing within organizations is changing as organizations become more customer focused. So it's an exciting time to be in the business. And then of course on the other side of it is the technology that's driving what we do every day and making us smarter and making us better at our jobs. So on one hand, I think marketing is now even much more about business strategy and insights and that connection to the consumer. But on the other side of it, and certainly connected with it, is you have to be a marketing technologist now to be a marketer. And understanding technology in a really sophisticated way. I know everyone talks about the Gartner quote all the time, but it's true. I'm seeing it in an old school organization, so I'm sure many of you are really experiencing this idea that marketing is now driving the bulk of the CapEx spending from a technology perspective in these organizations, which is really fun to be a part of. And certainly if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I kind of would have gone, huh, IT, what do you mean? Like they give us computers and phones, what are you talking about? So it's fun. It's fun to be a part of what's going on right now in marketing.
So I think what we do, fair to say, is very complex. Complex enough that if there's not a word to describe something that we're doing, we tend to make one up, which is part of the fun part about being in marketing. But I'd like to try to keep it really simple, which is, for me, marketing is the art of positioning, positioning is the art of sacrifice. And I think especially in an organization like ours that it's owned and operated by doctors of optometry, you've got to really drive home the fact that trying to be everything to everybody means that you're going to be nothing to nobody. Defining the landscape for which you want to become famous for is critical in any brand. Our ability to be successful in a hyper-competitive marketplace where the product that we sell is becoming more and more commoditized, and the fact that what we do is actually a medical-based need, in many cases is being overshadowed, requires us to have an unbelievable amount of rigor in that art of sacrifice. For us at Pearle, it's all about genuine eye care. It is about the differential between, do you want to go get a meal that's prepared by a cook, or do you want to get a meal that's prepared by a chef? And for us, when we think about our business and we think about what makes us different, it's the fact that we have chefs in the kitchen. When you come and you trust us with your eyes, you have a neighborhood doctor of optometry who's highly trained, who's going to give you that expert eye care, both in the exam chair, but also when he brings you out on the retail floor to get that fabulous pair of glasses. And I would say the struggle that I have, and I think most of us in this room face, is that, for somebody like Scully, who worked for a company that changed the landscape, it's really easy to be a purist. For us, we have the realities of our business. And those realities of our business force us to be even more disciplined and really staying true to the art of sacrifice.
Thank you. That was some deep stuff.
Deep.
Good job.
Deep.
All right, Fanette.
To me, marketing is more about blocking and tackling. Strategy for sure. For those of us who do have a seat at the table, it's great. It makes all the difference in the world. I've been at places where I didn't have a seat at the table, and it's changed the person I can be. So that is, I consider a privilege, and I'm grateful for it where I am. But marketing for me is very techno-marketing because I'm heavily reliant on IT in that everything I want to do is understanding my customer better. When I first got to Country Financial, I was in a position I kept asking, what's the customer worth here? How do you know that you're paying for what you can get? And are you sure when you have this campaign that you're going to be successful, and what does success look like? And I got blank stares. And nobody had asked those questions for a very long time, and the last time they got an answer, a customer for us was worth $20. And I thought, it's really strange, $20. That's not a lot of money for an insurance and financial product. And it turns out $20 wasn't really the number, and it depended on a number of product combinations. But we weren't able to effectively market without having that information. And so step one for me was very basic, is understanding what is the lifetime value of a customer, then understanding what works and what doesn't, because perception there was what worked was you dropped 4 campaigns a year. And those campaigns were direct mail campaigns. This was just 3 years ago. Wow. That was all there was. There was a digital team, but the digital team did what they wanted to do, had no agenda. We had an advertising team. Their job was every other year to create a campaign and decide where they wanted that to drop, and to bring all those pieces together to marry them in a way that actually drove the activity of that best customer, as well as serving the various product groups within the company, was really, I know many of us have said it before, but it was the orchestra route. It was really conducting and bringing people together to trust one another, which doesn't sound like business, but it was the reason I said I couldn't have a cat fight, because the bottom line for us was really learning how to help each other. And we hadn't looked at our business that way before, but without that, you can't really serve the customer. So that's what I would say marketing's all about, is trying to bring that orchestra together, making beautiful music so that you can serve the customer.
Thank you, Fanette. I agree. I think that the convergence of technology and social media and digital media has forced us to fix the issue of the silos within organizations and the breakdown of communication and the fact that sales hates marketing and marketing hates, everybody else. And in the past, we're all done with that now. But I think it's been interesting to watch, and I think that marketers have had to be responsible for bringing all these people together and making people get along, which is really strange. Jordan.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody's saying. And for me, it's like I said, it's a little bit more basic at times because we're not such a customer-specific organization right now. But what applies to me, the way I think about marketing, which in some way applies to everybody in the room, I would imagine, it's really about knowing your marketplace and taking advantage of what's happening and really capitalizing on the rights that you may have or may not have, or the rights that you have to reach a consumer that you may or may not have. Like I said, we have opportunities. I'm the first person in my role that's ever been there, and that means for the last 20 years, this has been underserved from us. And we're lucky enough that we have a partner like the NBA that does so much. We can't exist, and we're partners forever. We can't exist without the NBA. The NBA can't exist without us. But the way it's been working forever is that they control the narrative, and they and their partners, because they're only NBA partners, control the narrative and control the storytelling of what's been told to us. And that's and we've been underserved in that because we have the right to have some control over that narrative as well, and we've never chosen to do it. So whether it's by having our own partners who, and there are lots of people who are partners with athletes and with leagues and with teams, but that's usually controlled by the league and the team, not controlled by the player themselves. So, and then from a more macro point of view, as an organization, so again, I work for a union, and like I said before, they're all really rich and really young and not necessarily college educated and stuff like that. And sometimes people have resentment about that because why should a young athlete make so much money? The story never gets told, and I'm not petitioning here either, but the story never gets told about, the average wealth of an owner is $4 billion. So, when we go through collective bargaining sessions where we talk about what contracts are going to look like between athletes and players, again, the story and the narrative is told pretty much from only one perspective. And it's my job from a overall NBPA organization point of view is to make sure that the equal story is told from both ends.
So Jordan knows exactly who his audience is, but for the rest of you, how do you decide who the relevant audience is and how do you connect with them? Fanette, you want to start it off?
Sure. Well, for me, it was actually pretty easy. Once we started getting down that path of what a customer is worth, we started doing brand research, and it sounds so funny because we all know our brand. I mean, he knows he's got eyeglasses, and she knows that she's got beauty products, and I know I've got insurance and financial services products. But understanding who our customer is in a very cluttered environment was not so easy, because over the years we had sublimated the notion that we came from farmers, but the board comes every month. We thought that wasn't cool at some point, and we also knew that we were drowning amid lizards and people in khaki pants and ladies with guns that were going to price tag everything. And how do we fit in that landscape? And for us, what it came back down to is doing a brand ideals work and going through a process of coming back to who you are and understanding your heritage and what you really mean to customers, understanding who your best customer was, and then going back and serving them to the way they want to be served. And what came down to is our best customers for 90 years had been farmers. So we ask ourselves, why? Why were they our best customers? And the answer was because they bought multiple products and services from us that allowed us to serve their financial security needs. Now, that still sounds like a lot of jargon. What is that? What are you talking about there? And what it came down to is that farmers, because of the complexities of what they do, needed a lot of things. Not that we could sell them a lot of things, but needed a lot of things. They finance a lot of equipment. They turn equipment over often. They have complexities around loans that other businesses don't have. In fact, one farmer once told me that, it sounds like a joke, doesn't it? A farmer once told me that the most important thing he told his children who were going to inherit the business was that you've got to feel comfortable with loans. It's not what we tell our kids on an average. But because of the complexity of their needs, they were our best customers. So then that allows us to take a step back and say, well, how do you amplify that to other industries? Who else has a lot of needs? Farmers, as it turns out, have a very traditional background. They are very conservative by nature because they never know what the next year will bring, and have a lot of needs. So that is our best customer. Not that it's a farmer, but someone who has a lot of needs, has a conservative nature about their financial well-being, and is aware of it, and cares very much about thinking long-term. And so that's our best customer. And to then translate into the modern world that we live in, because we're in 19 states, and today most of our customers are not farmers, in fact only 5% are, is that person who has needs, multiple financial services needs, not because I can sell them, but because they do need that, and then has the desire to have financial security in the long run, whatever that means to them, and not for me to define that for them, but for me to help them to achieve those goals, whatever they happen to be.
Thank you. Doug?
How am I supposed to follow up that answer?
I don't know.
For us at Pearle, it was really simple. We had to go backwards to go forwards. And for us, understanding who we are at our core allowed us to figure out then who we were going to win with. Because it is about winning. I mean, we've all interviewed candidates out of school, and you say, what is marketing? And they're like, oh, it's about building brands and creating emotional. Marketing is about selling stuff, right? Marketing is about driving growth for your business. And along the journey, you want to substantiate what your reason for existence is. For us, we had to understand what we were at our core, and then figure out the audience that was going to be most receptive and potentially most loyal. A brand like ours that for the last 20 years, prior to me joining the organization, was very much back and forth between a retail-driven strategy that was all about price and promotion and the mechanism for which you buy, and then who we were at our heart, which was truly a brand that was centered around doctor quality. And so as we looked to figure out who our audience was, we needed to figure out who we were first, and then figure out, okay, who was going to be most receptive to want to listen to us and that we could win with. Because again, our category, much like many of us on the stage, is so hyper-competitive, especially when you are not a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi and you're spending $100 million on advertising. It was really about strategically, where was the low-hanging fruit? And that is the audience in which we have gone after. And that is the audience that we look at everything through and do adopt somewhat of a target, narrow, catch wide philosophy.
Thank you.
No worries.
Ashley.
Similar kind of path. So, one of the benefits of being in retail, and it's why I don't think I'll be able to do anything else ever, is loyalty programs give you so much information about your customer and what they're buying and who they are. So, when I walked into the organization, those of you in retail will appreciate same-store sales were negative double digits. Same-store transactions were even worse than same-store sales. And so the organization said, okay, we have a marketing person. Okay, you're going to drive traffic. Get us new customers, get us new customers, get us new customers, right? And so I stepped back and said, okay, time out. Let's figure out why we've got negative double-digit same-store sales first, and let's figure out what we've got to turn around with our existing customer base before we go try to put more people on the top of the funnel. So you've got this bucket and just holes and water filling out the bottom of the bucket, and they wanted to put water on top of the bucket. So we spent a lot of time understanding who our core customers were. 60%, when I walked in, 60% of all sales were attributed to a known customer that was in our database. But what was interesting is we had essentially at the time, 8-9 million loyalty members. But the database had 45 million people in it, and nobody knew it. So my first question day one was like, okay, so show me the database. How many people are in the database? I don't know. What do you mean? And they didn't even realize that they had this just richness of information about previous customers and customers that had been in the loyalty program and come in and out because it's a paid loyalty program, which is a whole other big issue we're trying to solve right now. But we started there, and when we did our AAU research and we looked at kind of net promoter scores and things like that, the people who were our loyalty members were giving us, Scully talked about it a couple days ago, they were giving us 60 net promoter scores, the people in our loyalty program. And the people who had fallen out of the bottom of the bucket, so they'd shopped 2 years ago, but weren't shopping us anymore, negative 60. So it wasn't just, we're just going to start advertising to these people who aren't coming to our stores, and they'll just, skip in and start buying things again. So we had to really kind of look hard at, where are we going to get the sales? And as much as an organization, we wanted the story to be new people coming into the doors, we weren't prepared to bring in new people. I think about the Domino's story. My CEO was enamored with the Domino's story. He was like, yeah, Ashley, just go do one of those ads like Domino's did, and tell them that the pizza tastes good again. I'm like, but we haven't changed anything yet. So, that's the desire that an organization has. They just want it done. And they weren't kind of admitting to themselves the reality of they had a group of customers who really loved them, that were willing to spend more. We only get about 25% share of wallet from our loyalty members, and the rest of the money goes to Walmart, Target, CVS, Walgreens. But they love us. All the brand metrics were there. We just needed to get them to come more often and buy more. And that was a lot more, realistic in the short kind of 18-month turn than getting somebody off the street who'd either been in a couple years ago and had a bad experience, or had never been in before and didn't really see a need for our products to begin with. So I think it is really important to be focused and to be realistic about where you can get your next sale and where you can get your most efficient next sale, because otherwise you can pour a lot of money down a big black hole and not get much back for it.
Thank you. We'll start with Jordan and come this way. Downton Abbey or Game of Thrones?
I actually like both.
Good choice, Fanette.
Downton Abbey.
Okay, nice.
The Thrones.
Yes,
Game of
Ashley.
Thrones.
I'm going with both. And will Jon Snow be back? What do you think?
Absolutely.
Yes?
He's
Okay.
like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's just
Yes?
Yeah.
All right, I'm glad we covered that. All right, Ashley, how does your behavioral targeting strategy reflect your brand position?
So one of the things that's been fun working in beauty, so I came from the video game world, and that was a blast, don't get me wrong, but it's been fun to actually work with products that I use myself. That makes a big difference as a marketer, I've learned. But one of the things that we've been able to do, again, kind of going back to kind of CRM and understanding our customers, is solution-based selling. And when we looked at what our competition was doing, everything between shampoo, conditioner, hair care products, styling tools, et cetera, nobody was in the space solution-based selling. So right now, I'm in Miami, I have frizz problems. So I'm looking to fight frizz right now.
Seriously?
Right? Who in the room wants to fight frizz right now?
Hashtag moderator.
help you fight frizz under $10. That's a really compelling message, and nobody else is out there positioning it that way. See, I've got this shaking it like people, yeah. You know, extend color, boost volume. Every woman has kind of this primary need state around her hair and this pain point around her hair that she's always trying to solve for. Well, most companies out there, you know, are selling kind of the brand on the shelf, and then underneath the brand on the shelf, there's solution states, but they're not starting at the solution state base. Yeah. And so we've started with solution states, and it's been really cool to watch that because we've taken all of our products and we've basically used metadata, and we have mapped all of our products back to these solution states. And then what we've done is gone in and looked at, so starting with our core of our known customers, if they've bought something that we map back to fighting frizz, then from a CRM and a targeting perspective, we're now talking to them about other products that help fight frizz and other ways to maintain smoothness and all that kind of stuff. So that's been something that we started doing in the last year or so. And then we actually took it into the digital space. So, we started with email and, segmenting our emails based on the solution needs and all of that. And that was great and it was powerful. But now we're doing that in the digital space. So two kind of cool ways that we're doing it. One is, and we're working with a company called SpongeCell. And so we have an ad unit that asks all of those questions. And it scrolls through, so fight frizz, boost volume, extend color, et cetera. And whatever that customer engages with, they don't have to click on it. Just whatever they engage with, roll over, click, et cetera. Then we are then using that information and retargeting that customer within the ad space, specifically around the solution state that they have identified. Same thing with retargeting. Somebody goes and they search a specific product. We're not necessarily just searching that one specific product up to them when we do the retargeting ads, but then we're mapping it back to the solution state, and so we're really selling the whole solution story. That's been really cool. And then the last thing that we've done around behavioral targeting that's been pretty powerful has been working with a company called Conversant. And there's an enormous amount of machine learning behind what we're doing with them. But essentially, we're matching up our known customers via email address matching. So again, we know what the need states are for those customers and what they're trying to solve for and what they're most interested in. And then we probably have at this point, we've probably got 500 different ad units that Conversant has, and it's using machine learning that is identifying what is the right series of messages to put in front of this customer over a period of time that will then drive store traffic. And we actually know that that exact customer that was served that ad came into the store and bought because we're doing the email matching. And so it's not just, I'm not, judging my digital spend based on, click-through rates, because what does that really mean? I'm able to actually connect it all the way through to, we served up this ad and this customer came in and bought, and this is what they bought. So, we're kind of just at the tip of all the opportunities we have in front of us, but some fun stuff right now.
Doug?
Can you repeat the question?
How does your behavioral targeting strategy reflect your brand position?
So my noble cause is not fighting frizz. I wish it was that sexy. It is really about caring for eyes for people. And at the heart of it, I talked about it earlier, it's just the art of sacrifice. So, if you were going on our website, if you look at our advertisements, it's always about getting somebody to schedule that eye exam. And the truth is that if we get you as a patient, we'll get you as a customer. Our conversion rate's about 70%. And so when we think about our marketing, it's very simple. How are we going to put our brand on the brain of people in the neighborhood, in and around our eye care centers? We use geo-targeted technology, we use customized end frames and online video, a whole host of things that are probably way too boring to talk about with this group. But the heart of it is really just being very relentless in terms of what success looks like. And for us, yeah, comp sales, we get the report every Monday. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, and if it's a good day, I go back to sleep, and if it's a bad day, it's 6:05, time to get dressed. My boss is going to send me an email in 20 minutes. But the commerce that we really look at is patient volume. The commerce that we really look at is our noble cause, which is, are we doing a good job in the neighborhoods that we have locations of being that destination that people trust with their eye care needs? And if they trust us for eye care, we'll get them for eyewear. So it's just being unbelievably focused and disciplined and having that rigor to know what you're good at and frankly what you're not.
Thank you. Fanette?
I have some of the same objectives, certainly to know what we're good at and what not. But I would say for us, behavioral is probably like you all know. So there are trigger moments for buying insurance or financial services products. And our industry's always known it, but we don't always speak that way. And I only want to sell you something when you need it, so we've already talked about that. But when people have children, that's a moment, an aha moment, where all of a sudden we realize, geez, it's not about me anymore. And sadly, we have to think about somebody else's life before our own, and so life insurance becomes very important. When a child turns 16, all of a sudden, if you've not thought about your auto insurance, you start thinking pretty seriously about it and whether or not that's going to protect you. And these trigger moments at certain ages, at age 55, people are starting to see that the end of their earning potential is coming upon them. And so it's a good time to start talking about their financial plan for the long run. They could have started sooner, but certainly by 55, those are critical moments. So for me, I look at critical moments as behavioral targeting. And it's true for most people, but of course I've got all the tools others have as well, and we use automation for a variety of things to match and collate and send messages. But I think for me, again, the most important thing is for us to identify the moment when you need us. And sometimes, I've told the story a lot lately, the minivan story of, did somebody decide to invent the minivan because we said, oh, I want a minivan? No, it's because they interviewed folks, and before there was a name for it, we needed something like that for the way our families lived. And I think the same is true for my business. You shouldn't have to say you have a need for me to be able to start sorting out how to keep you secure and to keep you on the track that you want to be on. So for me, that's behavioral targeting, and it's about watching, and it's about listening and learning from you all and making sure that I can help drive the business on my end to make sure you've got what you need.
Thank you. Jordan?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what was being said. As I've said before, we rely on everybody in this room to tell us the specifics about your business, because my business and the MBA by association, it's just a pure partnership business. The only thing that anybody from an MBA or an MBA team sells itself is tickets. And so it's very important that the people who work in those local markets and those local teams know everything that's going on with their potential customers. But other than that, it's a partnership business. And when I started working at the league office back in 1990, I hate to date myself, but it's been a long time. And then the entire league and all team employees were lawyers, because it was a lawyer-driven business. And now if you look at it today, it's entirely a marketing MBA-driven business, because you're the ones who are selling our products, okay? You're licensees, we're just a licensor. We give people the rights to sell them. So, and if you think it's just a matter of who wants to give us the biggest minimum guarantee or who wants to write us the biggest check to do it, you're completely mistaken, because it's really about the people at the MBA or the teams or me sitting and understanding what your visions are for the business, how you're going to grow the business, because without successful partners, it doesn't translate for us. So everything, while I don't directly work on behavioral marketing and database-driven marketing yet, that's going to change too down the line. If we're not in bed with the right people, and every one of an MBA partner or a team partner, there's 10 competitors who also want to be in that business. So just try and think about how those decisions are being made about who they're going to partner with, why they chose State Farm. And I don't know exactly why they chose State Farm, but and by the way, there's opportunities across the board, because if State Farm is the insurance provider of the NBA, all 30 teams could have individual deals too that are separate from State Farm. So it really is a market-based, and you have to know your stuff, and that's why it's really important for everybody.
Next is for anyone who would like to answer it. How do you connect user experience to the voice of the customer?
Well, I'll jump in. I think consumer feedback is kind of the oxygen for a brand. Consumer listening, active listening is the oxygen for a business. Our brands would all be dead if we didn't listen to what people who walk through our either virtual four walls or literal four walls do, right? I think the easiest way that you can really take action is looking at why people are not coming back. It's kind of like when you hire people for your team. Do you want to hire people that are just going to agree with you? Maybe you need a couple of them because that's nice. But what you really want are people that are going to challenge you, that are going to bring different thinking. For us, what we want to look at are why people aren't coming back. Did we live up, when we talk about our brand and our positioning and all the ethereal things that we all learned in undergrad and grad school, for us, it's did we deliver? On our best day, what were we like? But what we need to be focusing on is what were we like on our worst day. And as marketers, we're all trained, we want to market the best of who we are. We want to market to the upper third. And in our business, we have some operators that, quite frankly, are challenging, that don't deliver a genuine eye care experience. And it's very challenging to have a conversation with a doctor and saying, listen, great, you went to medical school and you're very proficient in your craft, but your patients don't like you. And that's why your business is not thriving. And it's not a marketing problem, it's actually an experience problem. And so we have created something called the Neighborhood Eye Care Experience, which just very simply isn't about scripting people to say a certain thing. That we actually want every location to have its unique flavor. But what we do is we have a series of principles, things to think about. Most of them are common sense, but it's amazing, as more sophisticated as we get, the complexity is actually in the simplicity. And so what we've tried to do with our experience is to really keep it very simple. We react to NPS scores, absolutely. 1 year and 2 year retention rates for sure. But there's this wonderful thing called social media. And boy, if you suck, they let you know. And they let you know fiercely. And for us, you have to be willing to take it and allow people on your Facebook page, on your Twitter page, on your Yelp pages to actually see that some people have bad experiences, because nobody wants to go to a Yelp page and see 75 great experiences. People aren't going to believe it. There's no authenticity in it. And as good as we all are, and we've all been in meetings and have had great meetings, but we've also had some bad meetings. And I think for our operators, what we're training them to do is to understand it's okay to deliver a bad experience, provided that you do it once and that you learn from it and you make changes to it. And so it's just having that humility to say, we're not perfect, but the most important thing we can be perfect at is listening to our consumers of what they're saying about us.
Thank you. We're about to find out the truths and the lies. It's pretty exciting. But before we do that, do we have one more question from the audience for any of our panel members? Now you just want to know what the truth and lies. I have a question. I have a company that deals with social media for large companies, but also for mid-sized companies and smaller companies. And it's interesting to hear everyone here talk about the tools and the things that they can do and the information they have. So 2 questions for anyone. Medium companies don't have that yet. They have some of it, but not at a level that you guys do. So any suggestions for dealing with that at a mid-sized company? And then my other thing is, how do you deal, I hear you all having this positive attitude about how great it is that IT and marketing slam together and how happy you are. Like, I'm not that happy, honestly. Like, I kind of miss the time when we were marketers and we were creative and we flew by the seat of our pants and it was kind of artsy. And now I have brilliant technologists and data people in the company, and that's great. But is it just me that misses that a little bit? Like, are you all actually really excited about all this data? Don't you get a little pissed about it every once in a while? I'm just curious. Is that just me? No, it is just me? Oh, no, it's not just me. Okay, I was just curious because you were all so positive about it. And just the info, I learned this term from some guy that I can't remember, but he was smart, and he called it infobesity, just the amount of information that we have, and effing spreadsheets, man. Okay, so it's not just me. You're not actually all this happy about it.
I am.
You are. You really seem like it. It's freaking me out.
I am. So I went to UT in Austin because I thought it'd be cool to go make TV commercials. That
sounds
awesome. I got an advertising degree. And because I thought it would be cool to be a part of the creative stuff. And it is, and it's fun, and you have to be careful not to lose that in the numbers, because there's something, even when you do, we tested all of our stuff before we put it on air and all that stuff, but there's something that, a really brilliant creative campaign, you just can't see it in the numbers sometimes,
right.
But at the same time, that's not gone. That hasn't disappeared. The need for creativity and marketing isn't gone, but yet there's this other, side of it that's just, there's so much information. I remember, being on packaged goods accounts back at the agency and going, well, gosh, if only we knew this, and if only we knew this, and if only we had this information. And now we have all of it. And now we have these amazing tools that we can do things that before we could only dream about. So I don't think the creativity is gone. And, it's easy to stamp it out, if you're not careful. But I think that's part of our jobs too, is to make sure that we're feeding the creativity that still has to be part of marketing. And yet using these really amazing tools to be better marketers as well.
There is, without a doubt, there's the art and science of marketing. And as long as I'm in this industry, I'm not going to let both sides of that brain die. Big data is great, but it's really about big questions. Data can lie. NBC famously tells a story that Seinfeld was one of the worst testing pilots. Well, if they had made that decision by data, boy, would they have been dumb. And we all get faced with things where we know in our gut that it's the right thing to do, but the data tells us that it isn't. And that's where you have to have the intellectual fortitude to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead with it because I believe it. Because you know what people say on a spreadsheet isn't necessarily what consumers experience at retail. And so, my advice in terms of how to keep that alive, if I could offer any, is get out of the conference room and get into your locations. Like, kitchen research works. Mystery shopping works. I have a dozen pairs of glasses, not because I need them, but because I love to go into our operators' locations and actually become a customer. And it's amazing the little but meaningful things you can find out by just getting out from behind your desk. A, you get to know the most important people in your business, which are your frontline associates. But B, man, the power of observation is so much more powerful than the power of Excel.
I'd also add that, one of the things that automation has allowed us to do is create a whole lot more content. Who hasn't been in a session during this meeting where we've talked about content creation? We need more content to be more personalized. So there's actually a need for more creative, I think, than we've had before, because if you want to personalize the experience, it's got to be specific to who you're talking to.
And I'll just add, my business, there's over 20,000 blogs by fans about NBA basketball on a daily basis, not by professional writers, by people who just want to write about it. And so creativity and how people are taking videos and mashing them up together to make these great videos. And you could watch NBA basketball nonstop for the next 5 years and not worry. The creativity is there. Where all of this stuff is really important is how we make a business out of it and how we kind of capitalize on the business opportunities that we have. So they're meshed together. It's just the way that business evolves. When I started at the NBA in 1990 again, it was about creativity, and the NBA made a great, who remembers, I love this game. Remember, that's what it was about. There was no data behind it. Mm-hmm. Right. Now it's important, and as the world changes, it's important that we keep up to speed.
Sorry, I think I lost it there for a minute, but thank you. Thank you all for bringing me back. I appreciate it. All right, so now we'll play, thank you to my panelists. We will now play Two Truths and a Lie. I'm just going to throw mine in there. If you had dinner with me last night, you cannot play. My Two Truths and a Lie is I had dinner with O.J. Simpson. I wrote a book and did a TED Talk on online dating, and I was ranked number 6 on Forbes as the most influential woman on social media. All right, now we'll go to Ashley. Ashley, raise your hand when you think it's a lie. Number 1, she has driven the Batmobile. Driven it. Is it a lie? Raise your hand. No, I think that's a lie. Come on, you didn't drive it. How much insurance would that be? Yeah, okay. I have jumped out of an airplane. Raise your hand if you think that's the lie. 2 dudes back there, 1 lady. Okay. All right. And she speaks 3 languages. Look at that. Nobody, I swear to God.
You guys are very smart.
Yeah.
I am the dumb things, jumping out of the airplane, and that's me. The smart things, speaking 3 languages.
No?
Yeah.
I thought, after all that smart talk, that was you. Okay, all right. So wait, which one did you do? You didn't speak 3 languages.
I do not speak.
You drove a
3 languages.
Batmobile?
Yeah.
Like the insurance they let you do? Okay, all right, whatever.
Very
all right,
cool.
Doug.
Not
Doug,
more than about 5 miles an hour.
Oh,
That's
I
very
like
cool.
it. All right, Doug, raise your hand if you think it's a lie. Saved a life. No, I'm just kidding. Jumped out of an airplane. One person. And touchdown Jerry Rice.
Threw a touchdown pass to Jerry
Threw a
Rice.
touchdown pass to Jerry Rice. Several people are not raising their hands. Let's all play the game, all right? We're going to all play the game. So which one was
I'm
it?
not that interesting. I'm really sorry.
No, which one was it?
They're actually all true.
But you can't do that! Doug, we're gonna have a talk after this.
They are all true.
Oh,
They're
goodness.
all
Okay. Fanette is 58 years old. It's a lie. She's younger than that.
Oh, it's
All
all a
right.
lie.
She is a ballerina. Totally looks like a ballerina. And doesn't like wine. That's not what I saw last night. No, I was kidding. I remember that.
I like wine a lot. Sorry, Al.
Which one is it?
I don't like wine. I
Oh, you
like
don't
wine
like
a
wine.
lot.
I'm really quick on that. Doug confused me. You're 58? You look so
I am.
good, Fanette.
Well, thanks.
All right, Jordan married a basketball player. His wife is 6'4". True, totally true. Look at him. Come on. All right. Of course she is. All right. Used to be a professional gymnast.
I'm 6'7".
Yeah, too tall. Too tall. He mostly did floor
Move
routine.
the rings up for you.
And he skipped dinner last night to go to the Miami Heat game. It's true. So you're not a gymnast? No. All right.
6'7".
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Thank you.